Welcome to our deep dive into the life of Gustav Mahler. It seems like so many of you have requested a closer look at this composer, so I'm excited to explore this today.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Mahler's life was quite the journey. I mean, he lived from 1860 to 1911, and he saw so much change during his lifetime. He was a prominent composer and a conductor, but also a figure marked by this constant sense of displacement and these internal struggles that he dealt with.
And it's those personal experiences, those struggles and triumphs that I think we're really going to try to uncover in this deep dive. I mean, I really want to see how those elements might resonate in his music, which can be so powerful and emotionally charged. And I guess the best place to start is at the beginning, right? With his childhood in Bohemia.
Absolutely. Mahler was born to a humble Jewish family in Bohemia, and at that time it was still part of the Austrian Empire. His family belonged to the German-speaking minority there, which instilled in him, I think, this feeling of being an outsider right from the very start. And that feeling kind of stayed with him throughout his life and shaped, in many ways, his artistic sensibilities.
You could almost hear that sense of longing, of not quite belonging in some of his compositions.
Absolutely.
So he spent his childhood in Jihlava, a city that I understand was just teeming with these diverse musical influences.
It was. Just imagine this mix of street songs and folk melodies and the sounds of military bands all kind of swirling around young Gustav. He absorbed it all. These sonic flavors of his youth would later be woven into his compositions, transformed and reimagined within the grand structures of his symphonies. You can almost hear those military bands echoing in the percussive sections of his later works, for example.
Those early impressions really stayed with him, it seems. And he was also, from what I've read, quite the child prodigy. I mean, discovering a love for piano at the age of 4 and then giving his first public performance at 10.
Oh, he was undoubtedly gifted. But life, as it often does, had its share of tragedies in store for him. When Mahler was only 13, his younger brother, Ernst, died. It was a profound loss, one that deeply affected him.
That must have been incredibly difficult at such a young age.
In his grief, Mahler actually turned to music. He began composing an opera as a tribute to his brother. It's a powerful example of how, even in his youth, music became this outlet for processing his emotions and coping with life's challenges.
So we're already beginning to see these early experiences, that feeling of being an outsider, this exposure to diverse musical influences, and this really profound sense of loss, all shaping the foundations of Mahler the man and perhaps Mahler the composer as well.
Precisely. These experiences really laid the groundwork for his artistic journey. And to further understand that journey, we need to move on to Vienna, where Mahler sought to refine his craft and to find his own distinctive voice amidst that vibrant cultural landscape of the late 19th century.
Vienna at that time was really a hub of musical innovation. What was it like for Mahler, this young man from Bohemia, to be studying at the Vienna Conservatory, to be surrounded by so many other aspiring musicians and these towering figures of the musical world?
Well, the Vienna Conservatory was really the heart of the musical world at that time, and Mahler had the opportunity to study with some truly renowned figures: Julius Epstein, Robert Fuchs, Franz Kren. He immersed himself in their knowledge and their techniques, just eager to absorb everything he could. But this period wasn't without its challenges. Mahler was deeply sensitive to criticism. There's even a story that he destroyed an entire symphonic movement after receiving negative feedback.
That suggests a real desire to create something truly unique and meaningful, but also perhaps a fear of not being, well, good enough.
He certainly possessed a fierce determination to succeed. And during his time in Vienna, Mahler was also deeply influenced by the musical giants of the Romantic era, particularly Richard Wagner and Anton Bruckner. But Mahler wasn't simply imitating them. He was forging his own path, blending this grandeur of Romanticism with this uniquely personal, almost confessional style. His music wasn't solely focused on beauty. It delved into these complexities of life, its joys and its sorrows.
A reflection, it seems, of his own experiences and struggles, and his intellectual pursuits. They also played a role in shaping his musical vision, didn't they?
Absolutely. Mahler was a deep thinker. He was engaging with all the philosophical and literary currents of his time. The ideas of thinkers like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, with their exploration of human suffering and the search for meaning, they resonated deeply with him and influenced both his worldview and his music.
So we see him in Vienna, honing his craft, grappling with these self-doubts and drawing inspiration from both these musical giants and philosophical thinkers. All of these elements contribute to the development of his unique voice.
Precisely. These formative years in Vienna were absolutely crucial. They represent this period of intense growth and self-discovery, shaping the man who would become one of the most influential composers of his time.
And it seems that conducting, rather than composing, became his primary focus in the beginning. So let's explore those early years, the trials and triumphs of Mahler the conductor.
His early career reads like a map of Europe. Bad Hall, Laibach, Olmütz, Kassel, Prague, Leipzig. Each post presented its own unique set of challenges and triumphs, and through those experiences, his conducting skills and his artistic vision were shaped and refined.
He was driven, he was ambitious, wasn't he?
Oh, very much so. He
Yeah.
constantly pushed himself and those around him to achieve musical excellence. And during those early years, Mahler honed his skills conducting a wide variety of operas, including works by Verdi, Bizet, and of course, Mozart and Wagner. He was relentless in his pursuit of musical perfection. Even if it meant clashes with orchestras or ruffled feathers along the way, oh, he absolutely had a reputation for being demanding. But, his dedication to the music was undeniable. There were two key events, I think, during this period that truly shaped Mahler as a conductor. The first was his handling of Wagner's Ring Cycle in Leipzig. His rival at the time, Arthur Nikisch, fell ill, and Mahler had to step in to lead those performances.
There must have been a lot of pressure, especially given the sheer scale and complexity of the ring cycle.
It was. It was a defining moment for Mahler. He rose to the occasion, though, and he delivered these just stunning performances that earned him significant acclaim. It really solidified his reputation as a conductor of exceptional skill and artistic vision.
And what about the second pivotal event? You mentioned there were two.
Ah, yes. This one involved a rather fascinating project. Mahler decided to take on the challenge of completing Carl Maria von Weber's unfinished opera, Die Drei Pintos. He meticulously transcribed and orchestrated these existing sketches, even adding some of his own composition to create a cohesive and performable work.
That sounds incredibly challenging, to take someone else's unfinished work and try to breathe life into it. It must have been a unique experience.
It was, and the premiere in 1888 was a resounding success. It further elevated Mahler's profile in the European musical landscape, and it also led to a close, though perhaps somewhat complex, relationship with the Weber family.
Speaking of complex relationships, I think we can't really delve into Mahler's life without acknowledging the role that love and loss played in shaping his artistic journey. Music, I think, is often seen as the language of emotions, and Mahler's life was certainly filled with a wide range of them.
Oh, absolutely. His personal life was as intricate and layered as his symphonies. There were rumored romances, intense friendships, and of course his tumultuous marriage to Alma Schindler.
Alma Schindler. She was quite a fascinating figure in her own right, a talented artist and composer. She was drawn into Mahler's world, and their relationship was this whirlwind of passion and artistic fervor.
They were married in 1902, and Alma, being a composer herself, was kind of expected to put her own artistic aspirations aside to support her husband's work, and that naturally caused friction in their relationship.
It is a reminder, I think, of the societal expectations that were placed upon women at the time, even those as gifted as Alma.
Their relationship was definitely this complex mix of deep affection and intense struggle. Mahler, as we've seen, could be quite a demanding personality, and Alma often felt overshadowed by his presence.
It's a glimpse, I think, into the human side of this great composer. It reminds us that behind these grand symphonies and the public persona, there was a man grappling with the same universal challenges of love and compromise and the balance between personal and professional life.
And then tragedy struck their lives in 1907. Their young daughter Maria died. It was a devastating loss, and coupled with Mahler's own heart diagnosis around the same time, it really cast a shadow over his later years.
I can only imagine. These experiences must have had a profound impact on his outlook on life and perhaps influenced the emotional depth of his later compositions.
Certainly. As Mahler's life unfolded, his music evolved too. It became a reflection of his deepest fears and his desires, his joys, his sorrows, and I think this relentless search for meaning in a world that could be both beautiful and brutal. And speaking of a world that could be both, Vienna, the epicenter of classical music at the time, always held a special allure for Mahler. I think we should turn our attention to his time there.
Securing a position in Vienna was a lifelong ambition for him. He eventually achieved this dream, but his time in Vienna was not without its difficulties.
He was appointed director of the Vienna Hofoper, which was a coveted position, but not everyone embraced his appointment. Anti-Semitism was on the rise in Vienna at the time, and despite having converted to Catholicism, Mahler faced constant opposition and prejudice.
It must have been incredibly challenging to lead one of the world's most prestigious opera houses while also battling those societal prejudices.
He faced those challenges, though, with resilience and a firm belief in his own artistic vision. His tenure at the Hofoper was marked by significant artistic achievement. Mahler revolutionized opera production. He introduced innovative staging techniques, and he demanded the highest standards from his performers.
It sounds like he really brought a fresh perspective to the world of opera, pushing those boundaries, challenging traditional norms.
He did. His productions were often met with both acclaim and controversy, which is a testament to his bold approach and his unwillingness to compromise his artistic integrity. He elevated the artistic standing of the Hofoper, he cleared their debts, and he left an undeniable mark on the world of opera.
And he also led the Vienna Philharmonic concerts during this time, if I'm remembering correctly.
He did, and he encountered similar resistance there. While audiences flocked to his concerts, some orchestra members resented his unconventional interpretations and his demanding rehearsal schedule. Mahler's unwavering commitment to his artistic vision, while admirable, often led to friction.
So here we see Mahler at the height of his career, navigating this complex world of triumphs and tragedies and societal prejudices and the complexities of personal relationships, all while remaining driven by this profound passion for his art.
But the pressures of Vienna eventually took their toll. In 1907, Mahler made the momentous decision to move across the Atlantic to New York City.
A bold move, leaving behind everything he knew for this new chapter in America.
It was a chance for Mahler to reinvent himself, both personally and professionally. And he started his American journey at the Metropolitan Opera. His debut there in 1908, conducting Tristan and Isolde, was a huge success. I mean, American audiences were just captivated by his intensity and his unique conducting style.
But even with all the success at the Met, it seems like he ultimately felt a stronger pull towards orchestral music.
He did. He yearned for the freedom and the flexibility that came with leading a symphony orchestra. And so in 1909, he accepted the conductorship of the newly reformed New York Philharmonic.
To leave this established world of opera and to take on the challenge of shaping an orchestra's sound and repertoire, that was a significant decision.
It was, and it wasn't without its difficulties. Mahler's programming, which often pushed the boundaries of traditional taste, wasn't always well received. Some audiences and critics just weren't ready for his bold choices. But he remained committed to his artistic vision. He wanted to introduce American audiences to new works and really challenge them to broaden their musical horizons.
So he was determined to share his passion for music with the world, regardless of the obstacles he faced.
Precisely. And his time in New York, though relatively brief, was impactful. It allowed him to explore new musical avenues, to conduct some of the world's finest musicians, and introduce his own compositions to a wider audience.
But amidst all of these achievements, it seems like the personal turmoil continued to plague him. His marriage to Alma was strained, and she actually began an affair with the young architect, Walter Gropius.
Yes, it was around this time that Alma's infidelity came to light, and it deeply wounded Mahler. He sought solace in his music and even consulted with Sigmund Freud, hoping to understand and perhaps salvage his marriage.
It's a reminder that even brilliant artists experience those same heartbreaks and those complexities of human relationships as everyone else.
Absolutely. But despite the personal turmoil, Mahler continued to compose. He completed his Ninth Symphony during this period, and the monumental Eighth Symphony, which he actually dedicated to Alma as this gesture of love and reconciliation.
The Eighth Symphony, with its grand scale and exploration of these profound spiritual themes, it really does stand as a testament to his enduring genius. It's such a powerful work that just showcases his ability to channel those personal experiences into music of immense beauty and depth.
It is. But sadly, Mahler's time in New York, and indeed his life, was nearing its end. His health deteriorated, and despite his efforts to continue working, he was diagnosed with a very serious heart condition.
He returned to Europe in the spring of 1911, seeking treatment. His condition worsened, though, and he died on May 18th in Vienna. His passing was a huge loss to the world of music. He left behind this incredible legacy that continues to inspire musicians and audiences today.
It really is remarkable how his music, once dismissed by some as overly sentimental or bombastic, is now recognized as some of the most profound and innovative music of the late Romantic period. His symphonies, with their vast emotional range and their exploration of these philosophical and spiritual themes, and that unique integration of folk elements and popular music, it just continues to challenge and captivate listeners.
His life, just like his music, was this tapestry woven with threads of brilliance and sorrow, ambition and vulnerability. He dared to push the boundaries of musical expression, to confront those complexities of life, and to create works that reflect that full spectrum of the human experience.
And it's important to remember that Mahler's music wasn't simply a reflection of his own experiences. It serves as a mirror to our own lives, I think, speaking to our shared human experiences of love, loss, joy, sorrow, that enduring search for meaning in a world that can be both beautiful and cruel. And perhaps that's the most powerful aspect of his legacy, that ability to create music that transcends time and place, connecting with listeners on this deeply personal and emotional level.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the life of Gustav Mahler, I think we're left with a much deeper appreciation, not only for his music, but also for the man himself. His struggles, his triumphs, his unwavering dedication to his art. We've seen how his personal life, his philosophical inclinations, and the world around him all found their way into his music, making it even more powerful, even more poignant. If Mahler's music is a mirror to his soul, what do you, the listener, hear reflected in it? What emotions, what experiences resonate with you as you listen to these extraordinary symphonies?